So it does. The land is the land mass is the sun. It attracts the water. So when we are tilling the land, what are we doing? We are releasing more carbon into the atmosphere. When we are burning charcoal, what are we doing? Releasing. So even though our contribution is very negligible compared to the development, we are still contributing. Let's go to the next slide. So what is the climate change story? It is the context in which many other stories will unfold. As such, it is not a subject solely for science or environmental research. No, it should not be restricted. That is why it is essential for all journalists, editors, and media owners to understand at least climate change and realize that it is more, there is more to it than just there is more to it. So we need senior journalists, we need editors, we need the media owners. You see, the attitude is like I yeah. So what I want is what now we will need to educate. It is not all about, I have fortified myself. These days, and that's the reason why people are blaming wetlands. Because they have the materials there to fortify them so that water does not if you go to some other house, my father's house is okay. You'll be sitting there, especially in rainy season, and the water will be sipping. The water level is very high in those things. It's not just so if you have fortified yourself and you think it is not important. Contrary to belief, this popular belief, climate change is an issue full of stories that can sell music. So many people say, oh, these stories they don't sell. It's not. It's because of the way we were writing. It is because we were just, doing the our news, we were just looking at personalities, the people involved. And so that was our focus. Now, if somebody, what politics has done to us? Politics, it's okay, it's fine. But what politics has done to us is that if somebody dislikes party A and the party A member is talking about climate change, you will not listen. Are you aware of it? They will not listen to it. Climate change does not know any race. Please, the next slide. Here is, I want to present a number of climate change related stories that some journalists in Ghana and across Ghana and across Africa. So you understand the angles that they are taking. I just want to emphasize that it is not all about the science. It is not all about the disaster. It is not all about the flooding. It has many angles. So, for instance, we had this story in Cameroon from a journalist in Cameroon, I think. A foreign company buys up land in Cameroon so that it can sell the carbon in soil and the trees to big companies in Europe, North America. So this is a foreign company. Right? On the surface, it looked like an investment. But then somebody decided to do it. And that's they say it's investment. But what exactly is entailed in this? The next one, diplomats from the Gambia go toe to toe with negotiators from the United States and Europe in the interest of all African countries. You know the Gambia. Do you know Gambia? If you look at it, it's a very tiny country. And when we were growing up, we knew that Gambia was the largest groundnut producer in West Africa. Because the pictures that Gambia piled up there. That is what we knew about Gambia. And now, because of climate change, this tiny country is able to sit down at the same table with giants to negotiate on climate change related. It's an angle that we can look at. You may not have thought of it, but that is an angle. Another story somebody did. Kenya's famed long distance runners complain that rising temperatures are affecting their performance. Would you have thought that? So you see the sports angle. You would think that the sports has nothing to do with climate change. But that is it. The heat. And these are stories that have been published. In fact, these stories that I'm mentioning now were published sometime. Then there is a business in Kenya creates jobs by turning waste from sugar mills into fuel that is cheaper and cleaner than charcoal, oil, or coal. Please, are you getting the angles that we can look at when we talk about climate change? So it's not all about going to look for a scientist to explain things. Ordinary things, just that we need to, widen our mental capacities to appreciate these things. Then the last example that I have said, I have put down, loss damage fund can COP28 save vulnerable countries. This is an award. This story won an award. I think the reporter got 2 awards out just last year because he was looking at and he looked at it. You see when the dam was open, and how many of you follow that story? That's about 2 or 3 years ago. And so the guy, meanwhile, one of the things that they have been negotiating at during the conference is the loss and damage. So if a country suffers something of the sort, how can the country be compensated? And the reporter looked at that. And it was a very good story. Please, the next slide. The missing ingredients in our coverage of climate change. So I just want to highlight a few things that we often neglect or we don't pay attention to. So we are quick to report on disasters. Let it rain, and let there be at least my road. I'm conversant with my road, Adenta Road, between Tetepaso. Okay, let's take it from Okongo, from the Legon, past of it, that turning down towards Standard. It rains 5 minutes, and it is badly flooded around that area. And we will quickly report on that. But now he's saying that can we also look at some success stories, highlighting how people are adapting, developing solutions, and using new technologies that can limit climate change. For instance, these women in the Upper West region who generals of the Global Environment Facility, that took them, a group of women from some small community, to India for trade. And now these women are there, the whole of that place, they are the ones fixing, how do you call it, the solar energy panels. It's being fixed by women over there. They have a training. And those are success stories that we can talk about. So you may not, they will not come up and organize it. No, they will not do that. But when we put our ears to the ground, we get to hear more coverage of African roles and responsibilities under the UN Climate Change Convention and what governments say and do at international negotiations. Can we follow at least? Thank God for technology. It's fascinating. So we don't need to travel there. If they say their sponsorship package has not provided, you know what? You can still sit in Ghana and follow the conversation and see whether they are making at those negotiations for those funds. Then more coverage of the status of national adaptation program of actions and plans. We have Ghana, and every 3 years they do their communication reporting and send it to the UNFCCC. So this means we do that. EPA is facilitating a whole lot of things. We need to follow. If we find ourselves journalists, then we need to the next slide. More stories that explain the causes, including climate change, effect events, droughts, and floods. More stories that explain the human side of climate change and show this as a development and people issue just as much as it is an environmental one. And then more stories about the business and development opportunities that climate change presents. I want, as I mentioned earlier on, that if it rains for 5 minutes and an area gets flooded, will you attribute that to? Is that climate change? Let's discuss. Is it climate change? Why would you say it's a mystery? The concretization of our frontier, not just the good. You see, we don't want to, we think math is a very bad thing. You have cleaned your room, and somebody read. The person's with the shoes scratched with mud. Eh? The person doesn't even think the crowd steps into your hall and you are fuming inside you because but they are near the whole place is neatness. But need we do that? So then, is it climate change? Which one is the climate change about it? I want us to discuss because you see, so we can still do this stuff. The rains will come, but should we be getting the floods? You know, at this interval, 5 minutes, 5 minutes rain, 5 minutes rain. So how we are also doing one thing. So that's why they talk about adaptation, because in a way, some aspects of climate change are not fixed. So they talk about adaptation. So how we even design our roads. Our roads being designed in such a way that they can at least resist the impact of climate change. Now, I went to a place and the road, the adjacent land and the side is full. So when you say, I'm not an engineer, but so you can imagine, so there are story angles. So what, let's open up in the community. Let's open up. We do that, we get a lot of stories to write on. Please, the next slide. Things that if we want to report on climate change, things that we need to educate about or need to understand. Climate or weather, change or variability. So we are talking about the weather, we are talking about changes. We need to understand those concepts. Then how do human activities affect climate change? This is one of the things I've just talked about. I was going to Aboko